What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the Goose Games. It is your boy, the Goose, and the Goose is loose, baby. And we are here for episode number 2 of Talkin' Sports with the Goose. It's been about 2 weeks since I've done an episode, and there hasn't been a ton to go down in sports. The Matthew Stafford trade happened. I don't know if I did a video on that, but I think everybody won that deal. I mean, the Rams are a Super Bowl contender now, and Detroit gets a bridge quarterback and some picks, so that's a win-win. So the format of these videos, I'm going to go through my 3 main teams, and then I'll just kind of talk about general sports news. This week, there's not a lot going on in the MLB, so I'm not going to talk about general MLB. And the NBA, I'll touch on a little bit, because we're not really in the exciting part of the NBA season yet. We kind of have to wait a few weeks before trade season really picks up. But the rumors are starting, so we'll address them a little bit. And we'll talk about the NFL, because the NFL postseason, or offseason I should say, is getting ready to start now that the Bucks have beat the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. I also don't think I've done a video since... Oh no, I did my mock draft after the Super Bowl, so if you want my opinions there, go check that out. Also, if you want to see my mock draft, I've done a mock draft. There were no trades on it yet, but it was a post-Super Bowl mock. Go see what I think of your favorite teams. Or if you like my teams, go see what you think of our teams. Or my pick for our team, the Giants. So we're going to get started now. The first team I'm going to talk about this week are going to be my Brooklyn Nets, repping the Kevin Durant jersey and the Brooklyn hat, of course. It's basketball season now that the Super Bowl is over, and the Nets are looking really good right now. They're 17-12, which is good enough for third in the Eastern Conference. They just beat Sacramento last night. They've been without KD like on and off for a while between... I don't even know what all the verbiage they use for this COVID stuff is. Like if there's tracing going on, I don't know what the hell that means. But basically I think somebody near or around KD had COVID or had tested positively or knew somebody that did, so he missed a few games, and now I think he messed up his hammy a little bit or just tweaked it. So he should be back in a couple of days now. He did come back for that 20-point game and win over Golden State, which was nice. I think the biggest thing right now, before I get into that, they're 17-12, which is third in the East, and they're 1.5 out of first. The current 1 seed are the Philadelphia 76ers, who recently beat the Nets, but the Nets also only had James Harden that night. And up until about 10 minutes left in the fourth, it was like a 6-point game, and then the Sixers pulled away. But I think realistically, the Nets have beat the Sixers this season, and the Nets have beaten this month alone. They're 4-3, and they beat the Clippers, the Warriors, the Pacers, who were decent, I think, and the Kings. So they've beaten the Clippers. That's pretty big. And Golden State, say what you will, Steph Curry is still Steph Curry. Let's see, they picked up Andre Roberson, who is a great defensive pickup. He's a top-tier defensive wing. He's gotten all-team defense votes before. He's a great, versatile defender. I think the Nets could potentially be looking at Andre Drummond if he gets bought out. What was I about to talk about? Oh, my apologies, guys. At least once a video I get a random cough, so there's that for the video. But what I was going to get into, the biggest revelation for the Nets, in my opinion, is that Kyrie, excuse me while I pop open an energy drink. Kyrie told James Harden, you're running the point and I'm playing the shooting guard. And that's big because a lot of people were worried about what the chemistry on this Nets team would be like and what egos would mesh like and all of that kind of stuff. But the fact that Kyrie is big enough to go off ball and let James Harden be the one, I think is really smart, and I think is going to end up being great for Brooklyn in the long haul. James Harden has been the best passer in the league this year, and it's not close. I think he has one game as a net without double digit assists. Other than that, every game has been double digits. And not 10 assists. I'm talking 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. He's insane. The spacing on this team is nuts. When everybody's healthy, you have KD, you have Joe Harris, who's one of the best, if not the best, pure 3-point shooters in the league, probably after Steph. Although Joe Harris did beat Steph in a 3-point contest before, so um but the spacing on this team just gives James Harden such freedom to do whatever he wants. And then you have a game like the Sacramento game where Kyrie can drop 40 and James still has a triple double. Like, it's the versatility of this team. I'm sorry, but I don't think they're going to be stopped. I really don't. I think they'll pretty much, I wouldn't be surprised if they gentlemen sweep every team in the East. Philly cannot stop us. They can't. They didn't. We beat them with just Kyrie and KD once already this year, and we were on course to beating them with just James Harden. If we have everybody, they can't guard everybody. And as much as a monster as Joel Embiid is, you don't win with a dominant big man. You just don't. Did the Warriors have a big man? No. Did the Heat have a big man? No. You can say Chris Bosh was a big, but he became a stretch 4 in Miami. The real center in the Miami Big 3 era was who? Who was this? I mean, I guess they started Bosh there, but he spent so much time on the perimeter. He spent so much time on the perimeter, it was hard to call him a 5. He's not a 5 in the way that Joel Embiid is a 5. The Sixers have no perimeter presence outside of Seth Curry, who, I'm sorry, Seth Curry ain't going to cut it when it comes to guarding James Harden and Kyrie Irving. And the Bucks, Giannis is a choke artist, and the Sixers are choke artists. So I have no doubt in my mind right now that the Nets will coast to the NBA Finals. And then they'll get a real challenge. Yeah, so I think that's going to wrap up my talk on the Nets right now. It's just about getting everybody on the court, keeping an eye on the buyout market. If Andre Drummond gets bought out and the Nets were to pick up Andre Drummond, it's over. They'll win the title and they'll sweep the entire playoffs. If we get a big like Andre Drummond in here, it's over for you bitches. All right, so now we are going to move on to the number 2 team. I was going to talk about them last, but it seems like I have the most notes on the Giants, so I'll save them for last. And I am going to do the New York Mets next, who, of course, you see the pennant above my head like usual. The New York Mets, they missed out on Trevor Bauer. If you follow me on Twitter, you know I was not happy about that. But ultimately, now that I've had time to calm down, the only reason I was so mad is realistically because that day there was a lot of stuff going on social media. Like, people were following his Instagram where hints were being dropped on his merchandise websites. Links went out for Mets merch with his name on it. So that's why I was mad. It felt like Mets fans were played in that scenario. But since then, Trevor Bauer has come out and apologized, said it was a miscommunication on his team, his marketing team and everything. So it's whatever. I'm an adult. I'm not gonna be petty about it. He wanted to go home to his Dodgers. Good for him. Realistically, I'm not upset we didn't get him because that contract is nuts. I wouldn't have been upset if we gave it to him, but I'm not upset to not give it to him. And a lot of people are saying the Mets have struck out too much. We struck out on him. We struck out on George Springer. Brad Hand. All 3 of those guys got overpaid, in my opinion. Brad Hand is a diminishing asset. His velocity has dropped every year for the last 3 years. I don't want a guy that's his trajectory. And the Nationals gave him 10 mil. I'm good on that. Bauer is still a one-hit wonder. He was good in the years prior, but he never really showed Cy Young stuff before the abbreviated season. So Trevor Bauer, to me, he'll probably regress to the medium and be a 3.7 ERA guy, which is good, but I'm not lining up to drop 35 mil on that guy. And George Springer got way too many years. I would never give George Springer a 6-year deal. Ever. I wouldn't have gone above 3. So people can say that the Mets are being overly conservative. To me, they're being smart. They're not spending like drunken sailors. They made a really smart deal to go get Francisco Lindor and Cookie Carrasco. That was an excellent deal. They signed Trevor May, a reliever. They signed Aaron Loop. They signed James McCann, a good starting catcher. The Mets are doing a lot of things really smart this offseason. Albert Almaro, he's a center fielder from the Cubs, who they just picked up as a defensive late inning substitution kind of guy. And they also just signed Kevin Pillar, who looks like he is probably going to be a platoon with Nimmo in center. Um, to me, the Mets have been really smart. After we struck out on those signings initially, I was mad, but with the benefit of hindsight and time, I think the Mets have been really smart this offseason. I would have given James Paxton 8.5. Apparently, the Mets wouldn't go above 6 mil for James Paxton. I would have matched 8.5 to try to get him. I think they need to get one more pitcher in this rotation, because I don't want too much riding on Syndergaard coming back, because I don't want the pressure for him to be a number 2 as soon as he comes back. I want him to be able to go out and throw 4 innings game 1, 5 innings game 2. Like, let's work him back. I don't want to just throw Thor into, you're the number 2 pitcher in a World Series race. Like, that's a lot. So I think you need to build depth. I'd be looking at Jake Odorizzi for sure. He's an innings eater. He had a bad 2020, but 2020 is kind of a wash of a season to me because of it was a fucking 60-game season in baseball. That's literally that's almost a third of the schedule. It's 162 games, and you expect me to get an accurate idea of a player's ability based on 60 games? That can be one bad stretch in a normal season. I've seen guys go on cold streaks for 60 games. This happens. Don't hold 2020 against guys. Another big loss for the Mets is going to be Seth Lugo. He's out for 6 weeks. He'll probably miss the first month of the season. 6 to 10 weeks, I think the prognosis, diagnostic, I don't know. But Seth Lugo is Mr. Reliable for the Mets. He's an ace in the bullpen. He's a top 10 bullpen arm, maybe even top 5. He starts when we need him to. He's a real important piece to this team, and because of his injury, the Mets are apparently more active now with Trevor Rosenthal. This is a fire thrower. He throws over 100. He's a late game guy. He was good in St. Louis for a long time, and then I think the last few years he's kind of jumped around a little bit. But I think if you can get him on a 1-year incentive-laden deal, do it. I like where our bullpen is right now. I think we do need another lefty arm probably. Justin Wilson would have been ideal, but he's going back to the Yankees now. But I would go after Rosenthal, shore up the back end of the bullpen, and Lugo's another one. Let him work his way back. Don't rush him back. Let him really... We need him and Thor to be there for the second half of the year, because right now, this team is probably a 90-win team. And I think they have one more massive move left. But they're going to be in the thick of a pennant race when guys like Lugo and Thor come back. And I want there to be enough reinforcements there that if they don't come back at 100%, it's not dire. You can't put these guys out in a position to be saviors. That's not fair to them. So the big deal I'm talking about, if there's one big deal left, it's third base. And I think 100% the Mets will make a deal for a third baseman before opening day. The main third baseman we have been attached to include Eugenio Suarez from Cincinnati, Chris Bryant, former Rookie of the Year and MVP from Chicago, and Matt Chapman. Maybe outside of Arenado, the best defensive third baseman in the league. He's like 27. He's young. 27 is... that was a little redundant, but you know what I mean. He's got pop in his bat. Man, if we could get Matt Chapman, I'd give up pretty much anything for him. This is going to sound like a ton. If I'm the Mets, I would offer Ronnie Mauricio, Brett Beatty, J.D. Davis, and a pitching arm. Honestly. Because I think if you have Matt Chapman and Francisco Lindor as your short and third base combo for the next decade, that could be multiple World Series. Considering the other half of the infield is Pete Alonso and Jeff McNeil. I think whatever this package is going to be to get a third baseman, we could lose Brandon Nimmo. The biggest factor in the MLB right now is, will there be a DH? That's so important because it adjusts how so many teams are planning out how they use their resources. Jackie Bradley Jr., if there is a DH, would be a Met already. And if there is a DH, he will be a Met. But if there's no DH, you can't plan on getting him every day at bats when you have to get Brandon Nimmo every day at bats. You have to get Dom Smith every day at bats. And if you take away that DH, which is so, I can't believe this is still a thing. It's so unfair. How could you just not give the NL that insane advantage? Why does the AL get this nuts advantage to get another position player into the fucking lineup? How is that a thing? It's fucking ridiculous. Excuse me. But it's archaic that only one league has the DH and we're still arguing about it. Get out of the past, MLB. Jesus, this is such an obvious thing to improve your ratings, to improve the overall quality of your games, because you get another bat like Dom Smith playing every day in a lineup. Put the DH in both leagues, damn it. With that being said, I think Matt Chapman is ultimately, I don't think the Mets are going to want to give up what they have to give up to get him. So I think we'll end up with Chris Bryant as our third baseman. And I'd be really happy about that, personally. I don't want to give up too much. I would not give up Francisco Alvarez. I'd be much more willing as the Mets to give up either Brett Beatty, the third baseman, or Ronnie Mauricio, the shortstop. Because we have Francisco Lindor at short, so Mauricio is blocked. And if we're going to get a guy like Chapman, Beatty would then become blocked. So if you're acquiring stars in those positions, you can move your prospects from those positions. And now the New York Giants. We're going into the offseason now, and I kind of realize now I messed this up because I think I did have more on the Mets, but fuck it. So with the Giants, apparently the news right now is they are prioritizing Leonard Williams over Dalvin Tomlinson because they are both free agents. I have down that Leonard Williams is probably going to request $15 million plus, 15 to 18 million, where Dalvin Tomlinson is probably going to get 10 to 12 mil. For me, I 100% agree they're doing the right thing. Keep Leonard Williams at all costs. I would franchise him if you need to, but I'd be comfortable offering Leonard Williams, 3 years 52, 4 years 60. I'd give him 15, no problem. If you have to go to 16, 17, or 18, I'm not that upset about it either. If you can keep both, awesome, but Leonard Williams is definitely the priority over Dalvin Tomlinson, in my opinion. So then, to talk about some guys on the roster bubble, Nate Solder is apparently either going to retire or be cut, which I called that weeks ago. He'll save about 10 mil for the team by being off the roster, so that's big. Golden Tate will be gone, I'd imagine. He'll save $1 million. Kevin Zeitler is a cap casualty potentially, but I don't want to be in the business of cutting productive offensive linemen. I know we could start Lemieux and Hernandez at the guards, but I really like the idea of having a veteran in there in Zeitler. I would cut Zeitler if you know you're signing a guard. If you know you're going to go get a guy like Joe Thuney, then yeah, cut Zeitler. But if you're not replacing him with an up-to-par veteran from the market, I would not cut Zeitler. We have Levine Toilolo, who is our tight end number 3 this year. Cutting him would save like $3 million, so I think he's gone. So those are the main people under the cap casualty list. Then ultimately free agency is the next big thing in the NFL. Again, if you want to hear my NFL takes for the draft, go watch my mock draft. But the biggest free agents, I wrote down my top free agency targets for the Giants. Ultimately, my top positional targets, You need a number one receiver this offseason, whether that comes in free agency, trade, or pick 11. You need a number one. I would say linebacker could use some help. Maybe another outside corner. I like our secondary, but I think another outside corner could help because I think Darnay Holmes is ultimately going to be a slot guy. So if you have Bradbury, I think you could use another guy on the border on this side. Other than that, offensive line, tight end, because I think you need to get rid of Evan Ingram's stat. I would cut Evan Ingram yesterday if I could. Um, Ultimately, though, I am looking to add veterans to a young core at this point, or young pieces if they're available. But I think this team, the Giants, could be, if this offseason goes right, they should be competing for a wild card, unless Daniel Jones is bad, which I think will be the case. I think we'll suck next year because Daniel Jones is still our QB, but I think everything around him will be good. But top free agency targets I would go after for the New York Giants. My top number one, above all else, go get him, Allen Robinson. Allen Robinson is a monster. He's had no good quarterbacks in his entire career. He went from Jacksonville with Blake Bortles to the Bears with Mitch Trubisky, and then I doubt he goes to the Giants because it's Daniel Jones, and he probably wants an elite receiver. If he were to go anywhere, I could see him going Green Bay. I could maybe see him going New England if they clean up their quarterback position. Minnesota, maybe. I don't know. But I think Allen Robinson is target number one. I think Chris Godwin, I doubt he hits the open market. I think Mike Evans said he would restructure his contract so that the Bucs could keep some of their guys. Because the Bucs have a lot of free agents. Coming off a Super Bowl win, they have Chris Godwin, they have Levante David, they have Shaquille Barrett and Dominic Sue, JPP. They're losing a ton. But I don't think they let Chris Godwin get out of that facility. Juju, I want nothing to do with if I'm the Giants. You traded Odell because he was too much of a distraction, and Odell is significantly better than Juju. Juju's not that good. He's not worth the headache, and I just don't like Juju. So I don't want anything to do with him in New York. If you think he's too much of a distraction in Pittsburgh, imagine what he would do in New York with the lights on him. So no thank you. The Jets can go get him. Kenny Galladay would be another massive target. You got to get one of these top receivers if they hit the market. If two of these receivers hit the market, the Giants need to be uber aggressive to get one. But I don't think ultimately they do. I think they'll get a second-tier receiver, and my favorite second-tier receiver for them to get would be Curtis Samuel. I think Curtis Samuel is a converted running back. He's very shifty in the open field, could potentially return kicks or punts for you. He brings speed to the offense, versatility, and I really like that. As much as I would like a big body number one, if it's not going to happen, I like a Curtis Samuel being added to this offense. Hunter Henry, once you move on from Evan Ingram. On the offensive line, there are just a ton of veteran options. Trent Williams is the number one. Maybe if Allen Robinson is number one on my free agency board, Trent Williams is number two on my free agency board. I would give Trent Williams a 1 or 2 year deal for $15 million, throw Andrew Thomas on the right side, and go to work. Because you got to give Daniel Jones every reason to succeed so that if he doesn't, you can cut him with a clear conscience. So I'd protect him with Trent Williams. Another option is what's his first name? Alejandro Villanueva, I believe. I believe it's Alejandro. That's the left tackle from Pittsburgh. I think he's like an Army Ranger or a retired veteran, which good on him. Yeah, he's another one. I'd give him 10 to 12 mil for a year or two, no doubt, and potentially put Andrew Thomas at right or the veteran at right. I wouldn't even mind trading for Orlando Brown because he's apparently requesting a trade from Baltimore because he wants to play left tackle. So I'd be down to trade for him, but I don't know what the market is. I wouldn't give up a first, and that's probably what it's going to take. I'd give a second, but not a first. Joe Tooney, like I mentioned, there are a ton of veterans on the O-line. Then on defense, I'd go after Shaq Barrett, the pass rusher from Tampa. Yannick Ngakoue, he's moved around a lot in the last year, but he's still an 8.5 sacks guaranteed kind of guy. Patrick Peterson is on the market. Chidobe Awuzie from Dallas is on the market at corner, so I think those could be options as well. I'm not going to talk about the draft because I want you to go watch my mock draft video, please. So that'll do it on the Giants. Those are my free agency targets. Let my goodness. My goodness. I used to smoke cigarettes. And I quit in December, and I haven't smoked since, so that's a good thing. But I'm coughing like I still smoke, you'd think. Now we're going to get into, since we're already on the NFL, let's go right into overall NFL rumors. So the big talk is the quarterback market. Oh my God, look at that. Look at that hair. Looking like Fireman or Fire Marshal Bill, the Jim Carrey skit. Got me looking wild out here. So the quarterback market is going to be the most exciting thing on the NFL docket this year in the offseason. There are so many things in question. We had the Stafford and Goff trade already. Carson Wentz is looking like he can move homes. Derek Carr, Jimmy Garoppolo, Cam Newton in New England. Is Denver content with Drew Lock? Carolina's been super aggressive in the quarterback market. There's a lot going on. And it seems like the Eagles have either overplayed their hand on Carson Wentz or are just vastly off on what his market value is. Because nobody's jumped. Apparently the Colts offered a trade for Carson Wentz and are not budging on what they offered. Rumor has it they offered 2 seconds, which I think is fair. I don't know what the Eagles think they have in Carson Wentz. Going into last year, I had Carson Wentz as a top 3 quarterback. I had him behind Wilson and Mahomes as my number 3 quarterback. I thought he would be an MVP candidate, and then he shit the bed. I tend to believe that most of his failures are on the Philly organization because I think Doug Peterson and him were never a fit, really. Philly fucked up with how they didn't fully take Carson's side over Foles, in my opinion. I think they rushed Carson back after the Super Bowl because Nick Foles was failing that year. Howie Roseman built a shit roster. Carson, but the bottom line is the Eagles don't get to cash in on any value he has left. You're selling here. You don't get to dictate your market. The market dictates your market. Like, you don't get to say, we want a first and we want the Matt Stafford deal. You're not dealing Matt Stafford. You're dealing Jared Goff. You have the Jared Goff in this deal in Carson Wentz. I am a high believer in Wentz. That doesn't mean you're going to get what you believe he is. You're going to get what he's done most recently, which is sucked. So that's 2 seconds, jump at it. Take it and run. Because you don't get to come out the winner in this situation. Because you fucked the Carson Wentz situation all the way up. Then there's Derek Carr. Deshaun Watson, obviously. Now, the thing everybody keeps saying, all of the older reporters I've been hearing from, like Mortensen, guys on ESPN, apparently Deshaun Watson ain't getting traded. People are saying they would eat a hat if he gets traded because it's not happening. Apparently that front office is not moving Deshaun Watson. And apparently it's going to be time for him to decide. Are you Le'Veon Bell? Are you going to sit out for a year? That's what it's going to come down to, it looks like. And he's made a lot of money in his career. I would never presume to make that kind of decision for somebody when that much money is at play. But something I heard yesterday was that the amount of guaranteed money he has left on his deal outweighs the amount he would be fined if he sat this entire season. So if I'm him, I might do it. I might sit that season out and not play for Houston. They're that much of a shit show. They're the only shit show bigger than Philly at this moment. And I don't mean to rub it in because, like, I know I'm a Giants fan, so when I talk shit on the Eagles, it seems worse for Eagles fans because it's like, oh, fuck you, Giants fan, your team sucks. And that's fair. We do suck. But when I report about sports, I try to be unbiased. And Philly, I'm sorry, it's a shit show right now. I'm not trying to be mean or rude or biased. It's just kind of fucked right now. They hired a puppet as a head coach. But I don't know what happens there. I really don't. I think somebody's gonna have to offer the King's ransom. I think somebody's gonna have to offer the James Harden deal. We'll give you fucking 5 firsts for Deshaun Watson. And then the trigger will be pulled. But I think somebody's going to give up a dumb package. It's probably not dumb, though, because it's Deshaun Watson. I could see Carolina giving up a ton with Matt Rule. Give me my guy. And we go into the future. I could see that. Jimmy Garoppolo. Of course the Niners want to move on from Jimmy G. Jimmy G sucks. I think it's funny when people talk about championships in the Super Bowl. The thing that doesn't get talked about enough is once you've been there and played, that's the only way to know if you're clutch is if you come up clutch in the Super Bowl. Eli Manning is clutch. He went 2 for 2 on fourth quarter drives to win the game. When I see like after that first game in 07, I was like, Eli's our guy. We can trust him because he can take us on that drive. Once a quarterback shows you they can't do that, I'm done. Jared Goff, he's no longer a Ram because he couldn't win the Super Bowl. Jimmy G showed you in that Kansas City game, he's not good enough to win you a Super Bowl. He missed the game-winning throw. He missed it. He's not good enough. Move on. Like, that's the line. That's the line for is a quarterback real or not. Mahomes lost the Super Bowl, yeah, but he won one first. He's for real. Russell Wilson won a Super Bowl. He's for real. Aaron Rodgers won a Super Bowl. He's for real. Has Josh Allen won a Super Bowl? No, not for real. Has Lamar Jackson won a Super Bowl? No, not for real. That's the line. Are you good enough to win in the most important game of the year? And Jimmy G proved he's not. Get him out of town. Derek Carr, I think the only way Derek Carr is no longer a Raider is if the Raiders get Watson, and I don't think they get Watson. But I don't know. Of all the quarterbacks on the market, Derek Carr might be the best one, which is shocking to say. But the only way he's gone is if Gruden is moving him to upgrade, and unless it's Watson, I don't know if an upgrade's available. One guy I haven't talked about this entire video, Dak Prescott. If Dak hits the open market or gets on the trade market, you're going to see shit get wild this offseason. The amount of teams that will line up to pay Dak Prescott, I'd line up. I would send Daniel Jones back to fucking Duke today if it meant we can go get Dak. Dak is a top 10 quarterback. I will not argue that anymore. I used to say he wasn't. He is. I was wrong. I also said Josh Allen sucked, which I still think he might. He did throw 21 passes that were dropped by defenders this season. 21 interceptable passes dropped for Josh Allen. If half of those get picked, he's a 30-20, as in 30 touchdown, 20 picks. Pay attention. He was the luckiest quarterback in the league this year. But yeah, I think ultimately Dak's a top 10 guy. I was wrong about him, and if he's available, every team should want him, unless you are one of the rare teams with somebody on the list ahead of Dak. JJ Watt being cut, I expect him to probably be the top 3 places I think he'll consider are the Steelers because of his brothers, the Browns because they're that damn good, and the Packers because he grew up in Wisconsin and he went to school there. And then just general trade rumors. There's always rumors Odell will be gone. I don't get this narrative that Cleveland is better without Odell. It's like saying Brooklyn was better without Kyrie. What? If you're a coach and you have a guy that talented like Odell and you're better with him off the field, you're not a good coach. That's the bottom line. I, as a Giants fan, can tell you more than anybody. Odell is the kind of guy you create an offense for. You don't fit him into your system. You fit your system to him. He single-handedly won games. The amount of he won at least that season we won 11-5 in like 2016. He won at least 3 games of those by himself by taking slants for touchdowns. He had like an 80-yard touchdown to beat Dallas. He had like an 80-yard touchdown to beat Baltimore that year. Odell is that dude. And for some reason, people think Cleveland's better off without him because they have Jarvis Landry. Jarvis Landry sucks. He's washed. He's never been that good. Don't tell me about Jarvis Landry. Jarvis Landry can't hold Odell's jock. Get the fuck out of here. Like, Odell is a top 5 talent when healthy. So if they want to put him on the market, fine, but you're hurting Baker's career. And if he's back on the market and I'm the Giants, I'll go get Odell back. Shit, why not? You know what this offense needs? Odell. It's so frustrating. We need a number 1. What did we give up a few years ago? A number 1. Okay, I'm over it. I'm not upset. So, moving into the final topic today, I'm going to loosely touch on the NBA general trade rumors. Some names that are on the market already include John Collins, power forward from Atlanta. I got no idea why they want to move on from him. He's a 20-10 guy. He shoots efficiently from the 3. He's athletic. I don't get why you'd want to move away from him. I think it's probably because they want to put a guard next to Trae Young, probably to make up for Trae Young's defensive deficiencies, but I don't know if you're going to get that guy, and I know what John Collins is. So I don't know about that. Blake Griffin is going to be moved. He'll probably be bought out. His career's over. He hasn't dunked since 2019, apparently. I don't watch Detroit Pistons games, so I couldn't tell you if it were true. But seeing Blake fall apart has been kind of sad. I always liked Blake. I thought the NBA was improved by Blake Griffin being there. He touched the mainstream media when he was dunking over fucking Toyotas and shit. So I hope Blake ends up somewhere good and can rebound a little bit. I like Blake Griffin. DeMar DeRozan, LaMarcus Aldridge, Zach LaVine, Bradley Beal. These are all guys that could be traded. I expect the next time I do one of these videos, either next week or the week after, depending on how busy it is, the NBA section will be pretty jam-packed. Because like I said, we're about a week or 2 or 3 away from the trade winds really picking up. And that'll be when things get super exciting. So, I think that's going to wrap it up this week, guys. Thank you for hanging out with me. If you could please like this video, comment on it, share this to your friends if you don't mind. And please subscribe to the channel if you're new. I don't do a lot of this like personal shilling. I never do it, and I know I need to be better at it. So the fact that I'm actually doing it, please give me a like if you can. You've hung out this long. What's the difference? But I appreciate you guys for hanging out. Hopefully my Nets continue to build up towards a championship run. Maybe the Mets are on the verge of a blockbuster deal. And then the Giants... Shit, just don't fuck up this offseason, gentlemen. That's all I can really say. Thank you guys for hanging out. Goose out. Ha!